how couples should plan their conversations about money in the early days and weeks and months of their lives together. We are heading into wedding season, so I know that if you're meeting and you're living together for the first time, it tends to be a difficult conversation to have. So let this conversation be the reason why you have that conversation. Let me get Nehal Mota, who is the co-founder and director of Finovate Financial Services, to tell you about why this is important. Nehal, I'm pretty sure that this is not the easiest conversation to start with, right? But maybe if somebody shares this video with a newly married couple, this gets to be the reason why they initiate that conversation. But having said that, in the first few weeks, what is the kind of information that you think it's important to share between partners?
Wish you a good afternoon, and to all the viewers as well. I think, like you rightly said, that it's a difficult conversation initially and also a sensitive area when you're talking about a newly married couple. How a couple should be approaching this sensitive topic about money and finance is that you all have a conversation about the beliefs which a person has about the money, and not only his own beliefs, at times even the family beliefs about money and finance play an important role. Also, understand where mostly a person likes to spend, whether it is on fitness, it's travel, it's hobbies. So start with softer conversation around the spending habits and also money beliefs. I think that way it gets easy to start discussing money.
So it's a good piece of advice to start small and then build it up. But things like debt, things like credit card spending, this is also important to have, because ultimately you're having two individuals that have been taking care of themselves, seemingly, right? Or in all probability, or have had their families help them plan their finances. And they may not have access to that anymore, and they're essentially now dealing with the requirements for two people. How do you plan for that? There are some couples that decide to have one person spend for both for the family, right? And there are others that say, you spend on your things and I will spend on mine. What's the ideal?
So the ideal way to look at it is that you start discussing goals. And I would say that you all are newly married, so just start with 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. What are the shared goals and how we intend to fund the shared goals. So that gives a lot of clarity in understanding that what the person intends to spend on. Is it holidays? Is it that they want to buy a house together? So what are the kind of shared financial goals which this couple will have in the near term? And with near term, I mean in 1 to 3 years time. That is like a good starting point of conversation. And like you rightly said, also the clear understanding of each other's financial position. Like, for example, someone would have taken a big education loan, which they are paying for the last couple of years and may run for a couple of years more. So understanding the financial position in terms of what is the income, what is the kind of savings, is there any EMIs or debt which a person is repaying. Also, a very important conversation as to each other's individual families. Are they dependent on you financially, or are they financially independent? Even such questions are important to discuss initially in the first couple of months of getting married. So this conversation brings a lot of clarity in terms of what is each spouse's responsibility towards their family, what are their shared kind of financial goals, and how they intend to fund it. Like you rightly said, in certain marriages, it's the male member who is taking care of all the expenses. In certain marriages, both the spouses decide to contribute jointly. So having clarity as to the joint expenses and the joint financial goals, how they're going to save and fund that brings a lot of clarity in terms of what each spouse is supposed to do with their money and how they're supposed to approach money jointly.
No, Nehal, what I meant when I asked the question is, I've actually met people where one person saves for both people and the other person spends on whatever is needed for the house. So one person deals with the expenses, the other person deals with the investments. Is there a checklist, though, in your opinion? For example, you need to discuss how much you can save per month. For example, you need to discuss health insurance cover. You need to ensure that you have life insurance, what your dependents are. You mentioned parents, right? So is there a checklist that you can give so that you can ensure that you've got all the information that you need?
So first of all, I wouldn't advise that one person makes all the expenses and the other person makes all the investments. Okay, that is like not a right approach. You like have your incomes coming in your individual bank account. You open a joint bank account for joint expenses and another joint account which the money, your savings will go and you will invest it jointly for your joint goals, like buying a house, holidays, or whatever could be the joint goals. So I would never advocate that one person just makes all the expenses and the other person makes all the investments, because in dealing with families, I've come across a lot of real life situation where a couple of years down the line, when the marriage is going through a rocky patch, one spouse is not left with a lot of savings investments because they were the one who were making all the expenditure. So I would say that you should maintain some kind of financial independence while you're pooling money for joint expenses and joint investments. Now, coming to the checklist, like you rightly said, that the first month in your marriage, you have to check the health insurance for each spouses. Do they have a company cover? Do they have like an individual cover? And health insurance is like the first most priority. So if possible, as a couple, you should go for a kind of a floater policy which covers both of you, and also check if each parent's spouses are like the parents are independent or they are dependent. So a separate health insurance policy for the parents of each spouse will also be important, because again, like defining who are the dependents for both of them is important. So, and health insurance is must. And at some point of time, a couple may decide to start a family. So, looking for a policy which in future will give them some maternity benefits and all is a good checklist to start with. The second thing which we discussed is having like understanding of the financial position, and then start creating joint bank accounts, one for expenses and one for joint investments. That's the third thing. The fourth thing is, in case if the spouse is changing the surname or something, so updating all your KYC documents, updating all your investment accounts with the new KYC and all, that becomes like an important checklist. And budgeting. You did speak about how would the couple go about budgeting. Some would like to save more, some would like to spend more. Some would like to spend on needs and wants, and some would like to spend or indulge in luxuries. So I would say a thumb rule is that if both the spouses are, say, earning 100 rupees, then they should probably restrict the expenditure on needs and wants to about 50%. Maybe 20 odd percent should be in wants, luxuries, and they should start getting into a discipline of at least saving 20 to 30% of their income very early on in the marriage. And that like saving is an habit, and if you begin it from the first month of your marriage, then you are forming that foundational good habits, and you understand the basics of budgeting.
Yeah.
In this way, the family knows how much is going in needs and wants, what is going in luxuries and all, and then there is not wrong expectations with each other, or no criticism for spending on luxuries or something, because you're working out of a defined budget.
Correct. And if you front load that saving and you do it as soon as the money hits your bank account, then you can spend on whatever you want, and there's no judgment.
Exactly.
Whether it's a dress or a new mobile phone or a piece of tech or a pair of shoes. Nihal, thanks so much for taking the time. Pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Your Money Matters. Thanks so much for watching. This is NDTV Profit.